right, calling the Gladstone City Commission meeting for November 28th to order. First up is invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Commissioner Thompson.
Father, we seek your blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Mayor Bostwick?
Here.
Commissioner Manilow?
Here.
Commissioner Phelan?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner View?
Here.
All right, before we get to public comment, we need to amend the agenda to add the DDA appointment for Ms. Judy Owens. So if we could add that to right after the Planning Commission appointment for Thomas Butch. Does someone make a motion?
So moved. Add that to the agenda under A, DDA appointment.
I support.
All right, motion by Commissioner View, support by Commissioner Thompson to add DDA appointment. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First up is public comment.
Good evening. My name is Tom Hogan. Your Honor, City Manager, Commissioners, residents. I don't know your procedure, but I would request that I get to speak on item 6A. I would only speak for a minute or two.
Does anyone have any disagreement on that? I don't see a problem
Nope.
talking.
No.
No, I'm fine.
Is it on the agenda?
Okay. We'll
Thank
let you
you.
speak then. Yep. All right. Any other public comment? All right, moving on to consent agenda for the City Commission regular meeting of October 10th, the meeting of October 24th, the City Commission open forum for October 24th, the special meeting of October 18th, the DDA meeting of October 11th, the DDA subcommittee of old-fashioned Christmas for October 12th and 16th, and payment of bills.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as published in the meeting minutes.
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner Manilow. Any discussion?
Just on some of these bills, I do, yes, I'm sorry. Some of these bills, are these budgeted items, Eric?
The rebuilt of the drive at the wastewater plant, the gear reducer.
Okay.
That's the second one that has gone in the last 20 years, and John List did the last one, and so we price getting new ones, and the new ones are about 35 grand, I think. So he rebuilt the last one a couple years ago, so we had him redo this one too. It wasn't budgeted for, but we'll shift our budget around, so it had to be done. It was making noise, and we didn't have a choice on that.
Okay. What about the stuff for Bradfield here on the,
Yep, that's part of the 3rd Street project.
that's part of 3rd Street? Okay. Go ahead.
All right, anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next is under unfinished business, the IBEW Supervisors Union contract. So if you want to speak, Mr. Holder.
Thank you. My name is Tom Hogan. I'm the business manager of IBW 906. Across the room is my assistant business manager, Steve Schrock, who's graduated from Gladstone High School. And IBW 906 represents railroad people, electricians at Verso, City of Norway, Crystal Falls, and all union construction workers across the UP. Some background on myself. I've been a city commissioner in Marquette. I'm the administrator of a pension fund, and I am a trustee of a health fund with 7,000 members. I've served on many boards and committees. I've served on Bay, MTech, and on the board at NMU. So I've been involved a long time along city and county issues. Before you tonight is a contract covering your supervisors. Does not change who you hire or how. It has no effect on your termination policy. The supervisory employees are not hourly. They are at-will employees. And there's been some confusion out there. And I would extend to you the opportunity at your convenience to meet and discuss any items in there. And honestly, I was very impressed when I met these supervisors here, because they stayed on me and said, no harm to this city. And we put together a contract doing exactly that. But it's always, people think this or that. So I extend to you an invitation to meet and discuss it and fully understand it. I'm at your convenience anytime. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, at our last meeting, we had the city manager try and contact Michael Cluck to find out how much it would cost to have him look at the contract. So
Kim and I called, and we talked to Tom Deer. I have a hard time pronouncing his name. Deeren. And he is a partner in the firm. There's 3 people in the firm. This is the same firm that did the Delta County Road Commission, and he had some other leads working with the city of Menominee right now, and a couple other places. Anyway, he had looked at the contract already. Estimated review time 2 to 3 hours going through it. Going rate's $175 an hour. I asked them about expense for if they were to negotiate, and it's $175 an hour plus mileage and expenses. But they usually, when they come up to the UP, they time it around. They try to time it around when other entities up here, so they can share on expenses. I also. We have the letter from the IBEW, so in talking with a couple of the commissioners, we were thinking it might be prudent to sit down, have the personnel committee of the commission sit down with the IBEW and the supervisors group and go through the contract and discuss all the concerns involved there, and then send it to the attorney, or send it to the attorney first. And if you want to go to this attorney.
Well, I have something to say on it. I would like to move that before approving any supervisor's union contract with IBEW, that each council member's concern should be codified. That each question or issue are to be written and given to the mayor or a designee of the mayor by December 14th, 2016. Then to have the list compiled for the sharing of the commissioners during the December 19th, 2016 open forum with public involvement. Then discussions on the choices for the attorney's contract review on behalf of our city will be made during the meeting of January 9th, 2017. During this period of time, recommend that the intern city manager have background and cost on 3 different city labor law attorneys for council selection at the January 9th, 2017 meeting.
What do you want to do at the open forum?
The sharing of concerns of the commissioners and issues. I mean, I'm just trying to get this on the table so we can either turn it down or go on to something else, because then I'll bring up some of the issues that I have that I'm trying to find out about things.
Would you be okay with the, Commissioner Phelan and I are on the Personnel Committee, with us sitting down and having an initial discussion? We could take input from, we could take concerns before we sat down.
Well,
Try to address
I think all the commissioners are being talked about by the public, myself, okay, included, that have issues that I think that if we reduce them to rating and we codify them to what's important, and, well, basically, there's a lot of eliminate contradictions between what the contract says, if it supersedes policy, if it supersedes the job descriptions and qualifications on how the people were hired, because there's a lot of statements in there that are contradictory to what they're supposed to be doing as supervisors compared to what the contract. And I didn't go through it a lot, but I'm just saying there's a lot of unclear statements. If you really look at the 5 areas or 6 areas of the charter language is in question on how the authority is for managing and changing departments, utilizing hours, management rights. I've read a statement in there, and maybe I'm not understanding it, where the contract will supersede a lot of the things that are in place right now. And I just want all that clarified before we move forward and agree to the union, which is going to be coming to the city, but I want to make sure we really understand what we're doing. And the people I've talked to through MML said the first one's the most important thing. Don't let any stone unturned in order to make sure you are neutral all the way through for the benefit of your citizens. And that's why I mean, I'm not good at wording, but I think this kind of covers everything that I'm looking at, every commissioner to have that input from what citizens are talking about, from what we've all been reading in the contract and other policies, and then have a progression of when it needs to be done by, how we get the public to come in and yell at us or comment at us one way or the other, good or bad, and then how we take all that information and clarify everything so that we have the most important things are clarified to the point that when we sign this contract, we all know where we are. Because I really don't know where we are by reading it and then reading the policy, reading job descriptions. I mean, I got about 30 things on here that I'm very not knowing what it means. And I think it's important for us to just take it a little slower and make sure we get all this stuff covered. I mean, it's just my thoughts. And the thing is, I can't call yous up. I can't talk to you as a group. I may be able to talk to one of you, but how do you get all this stuff out to the public so that we're all on the same page and we're understanding everything? Because what you think one thing, I may be wrong in thinking it differently. So if we can clarify this in a procedure where we have everybody involved in it and have it in writing, I think it's the best, in my opinion, it's the best way to move forward with this union. And I relate to what we ran into this summer with the union contract when we tried to do some good things for the citizen and the management rights were taken away and we had no option but not to do the things. And I think all of you remember that with the compost site and stuff like that. You know, it was not beyond our control. It's just that we've lost a lot of rights, and I want to make sure that we have these same opportunities. And I can go through the 30 things I got written here, but I don't think it's worth going through at the meeting. I just wanted to start a procedure of looking at it this way, where, you know, our mayor's in charge, and I felt he would be the guy we can funnel our stuff to, and or if he has someone he ain't around, he wants to designate, you know, mayor pro tem or somebody. I don't care.
Well, we do have a personnel committee.
There is. I would
Yeah.
agree with Commissioner
We also, we also,
Thompson to kind of take a step back from maybe before we delve into that, to meet, to take up Mr. Hogan's opportunity to meet with the supervisory staff and the commissioner subcommittee and answer some of those questions. Some of those questions might be answered before we even move on to that.
how are you
Might be
going to
able
get the
little-
questions from the other commissioners?
I don't, okay, I personally don't have an issue if we get the questions to the personnel committee before
That'd be
we have
fine.
our meeting.
Right.
Is that,
Well, that's basically the
is
same
that legal?
thing.
Right, but I mean,
Mhm.
yep.
And why couldn't we have you guys submit the questions to
Yep.
Joe and myself?
Oh, right, that's
And we
what
could
I
meet
was-
with these guys and discuss these problems with them and come back to you. And then maybe have a commission as, committee of the whole and discuss what Joe and I discussed with them.
Right.
Yep.
I personally want a lawyer involved. I mean, I don't want us to look at this contract and say, yeah, it's all legit.
We can't,
We
No.
need to have a professional attorney look at this and verify that everything in there is solid and sound.
Yep. But we can address our concerns
Right.
before we get to,
Get to that
before
point.
we have somebody look at it and make sure
Right.
that, we're covering all the bases. Because there's some stuff that I have read, and look at, and it doesn't make sense to me.
And my understanding would be that the supervisors from the different departments would be included in that meeting, and there might be some language that might be amended or
Mhm.
changed at that point too. So things could change at that point.
Mhm.
Moving forward, this might not even be the contract that comes out of that discussion.
I don't think it will be.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion?
There was actually the start of a
Steve
motion.
already made a
so-
motion.
well, no, but if nobody seconds it, it just
Right,
dies.
and-
Okay,
But
is there
I'm
a
gonna need it restated because it turned into a big discussion, so I
Well, no,
can
we
tell
shouldn't have
you what I
discussed it
have.
unless it got
Okay.
seconded. See, it could have been
Right.
voted down, is what I'm saying. All I
Right,
wanted
but you
was,
made a motion and then
Mhm.
started with it and into discussion, so I
Right.
kind of
Okay.
started a motion,
all right,
I'm
We-
lost.
We need to amend that.
Right now,
No.
I have that
no
before it's
second, it
approved.
dies.
Right, there's a motion on the
She needs
table,
to
if
make
they're
it.
asked for any, if the mayor would ask for a
Right.
second,
Is there a second to that?
the motion,
All right, the
You heard
motion
it.
dies on the floor. So is there another motion?
I'd like to make a motion that, that the commissioners and the mayor submit their questions of concern with the contract to Commissioner Phelan and myself, and that we would meet, as the personnel committee with the local 906 and the supervisors discuss the,
When's the deadline that you want it?
I think trying to get it done before next meeting would be a little bit too quick, but maybe the one.
Well, maybe by the next meeting then, having all the questions, so then we can
Yes,
set up a
yes.
time.
Okay.
If we could have the questions by the next time we meet you, which is next Monday,
12-5, yep.
we could arrange a meeting after that, hopefully sometime in between the two meetings, so we have something to bring back for the second meeting in December.
All right, is there a support on that?
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner Mantala. You got the motion?
I have that commissioners will submit by December 5th to the subcommittee of Commissioner Phelan and Commissioner Thompson any questions that you want addressed at a meeting to be set up with the local 906 and supervisors and the City of Gladstone Personnel Committee.
All right, any more discussion on that?
I think that's too soon. I personally think that you're talking, just a week from now.
Well, do you have several questions prepared already, right?
Well, I went through a lot already, but I only went through half of the 4 documents I've been going through. I think you're rushing, personally, my own integrity on making sure that this is going to fit for the future of our citizens.
What 4 documents are you going through? There's only really the proposed contract and
No,
the
well, the
personnel
uh,
policy.
Hiring, job descriptions, and qualifications. There's a lot of items in the job description and qualifications that they agreed to work with the city and how our city runs. And it has a lot to do with, management rights and changing of jobs. City charter language, city policy, rules and procedures, That's 4 documents.
But I think we'd want to focus our questions on the contents of the contract, correct? Is what you're looking for?
No, I'm looking for clarity in who supersedes these policies, these procedures, or the charter over what the contract says.
The contract will supersede everything.
And I don't
Once
like
you-
a lot of stuff that's in there. That's what I'm saying. We need to be able to coordinate all that stuff so that the rights of the citizens are withheld in being able to do what needs to be done in changing our departments, our job duties, and stuff like that. I just feel we're shortchanging them.
That's what we need to get in that contract.
Well,
We need to address, everything we need to address needs to be addressed in the contract.
I agree. But you need to go through all the documents that also stipulate how things are ran and how the contract changes that. And there may not be a lot, but I went through it, and there is a lot of stuff that would supersede what we've already have in policies. And if it does, I would like to have that removed from the policy and just have it a contractual thing.
Well, you had a date of December 14th.
Well, I figured
You're
that- but
extending
it-
that out one more week. Why not extend it to the 14th, and we'll have that, and then sometime after the 14th, we can meet with the local.
Because, I mean, we can have more than one go at this.
Yeah,
I mean, this
okay,
won't-
all right, well,
It won't be just one shot and we're
All
done.
right,
I mean,
all right.
it can go more than that.
long as we can submit things that we find up at a future date, I have no problem with that. I think the main thing is for us to communicate with them, to communicate and look at our documents and get everything in the final order, because I do not want something to happen 20 years from now when I'm gone and say, look at what them commissioners did to us. Because you hear it now.
Yeah.
And I'm talking the citizens only. That's all I care about right now. I mean, I know how important the workers are and stuff like that, but we have one goal in mind, is representing the best we can for the most of our citizens.
Well, for everybody involved. We want to do
Right.
the best thing for everybody involved.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second on the 5th, so all those in favor say
Are you
aye.
changing the deadline?
That's right.
No.
Oh, you're leaving it the December
Keeping the
5th?
'cause we're at-
There's just an understanding that there could be more meetings.
Yeah, I mean, this is not gonna, we're not coming back with any final.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up is the,
Not to interrupt you, Mayor, but
Yep.
what are we gonna do about the attorney? Or we're gonna table that until after the meetings?
yeah, I would think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
after
most
the
definitely.
meeting. Yep.
Do we need to amend the motion for that, or?
No.
Nope, this will stay on as unfinished business until it is
I think
finished.
basically we're gonna wanna wait on the attorney until we've come to terms with what we're looking for and what they're looking for.
Right, and
And
that's
then get the
something,
attorney involved in the finalization.
Yeah, we'll fine tune ourselves before we get them
Having them look
involved.
at
right, the
Save money.
conversation,
Right.
you know, what attorney and who and how you want to figure that out is kind of
Mm-hmm.
along with it.
Right,
So it'll stay on the agenda as unfinished business.
okay. Next is the manager search, Lordstone Corporation.
Attached is the letter, conference call between Jeff Ketchum, Mac, and Commissioner View. Regards to, I don't know if you wanted to explain this, Steve?
Okay, well, I tried to get somebody to come with me and be in this conference call, and I couldn't get anyone. So I kind of took notes, and if you look at what I wrote, everybody, did everybody read it?
Yes.
And most of yous were involved with a meeting with the Lordstone Corporation, including our city manager. And basically what this is saying, along with the letter of September 26, 2016, which I'm sure we all have a copy of that too, correct? On what it outlines some issues that we need to deal with before moving on with a city manager. And I don't know if you want me to go through them so the public knows them, or you want me to a little bit, paraphrase some of the stuff? Okay, the first step is to make sure we're all in alignment with all the goals of the city, the roles, expectations, and boundaries. And he really stressed to make sure we are philosophically aligned. That's a tough word for me to say. Because that'll drive our strategies and tactics on how to manage our city. Our last discussion, which was with Eric and Commissioner Phelan and myself, it was clear that it was not clear what the role of the commission is. So we want to make sure we outline that first. Then for the city commission to analyze about what they see is the role of the city manager. It's really important that we have free focus with that aim. And what he would do is document all this stuff with flip charts, notes, goals, roles, expectations, and boundaries that we would utilize as our document for our city on how the powers of the city works. Because we're out of place a lot of times. You know, we ask questions and we do things because we're all new. We have a hard time dealing with a lot of things that comes to our plate and knowing why it is like that. And he also, from our discussion with Jay and Joe and you, he realized that we are somewhat dysfunctional in knowing the path that we're supposed to follow in documenting stuff and passing things. So what they're saying is it's going to cost us, for him to come in here for a 2-day work session, training, whatever you want to call it, of just the 5 commissioners. I don't know if that's, I mean, if it'd be open for the public or not, I don't know.
It would have to be. You'd have to post it as a workshop.
Yeah, it'll be a workshop, but there would be no intervention from the public, right?
You have to add an open meeting or whatever. You'd have to have a public comment period,
Okay.
at least one.
Okay, well, we can have that. And they would go through all the credentials that we should be documenting in figuring out what we're looking for our city to have as a leader. And where our role is, where the staff's role is, and where the city manager's role is.
I think that was the biggest thing I took away from that conference call with these gentlemen was there's a big lack of role identification within the city, starting at the commission, to the city manager, to the department heads, to the rest of the staff of the city. And that's, in his opinion, this gentleman from Las Vegas, McIntyre is his last name, I'm not sure what his first name was, but he feels we need to assess this and put this in priority. Otherwise, hiring a city manager right now in the long run is going to cost us more money because we're going to end up getting rid of this guy and hiring another one and getting rid of this guy. Because what he's stepping into right now is a bee's nest, basically. And until we get our role identification figured out, so everybody knows their role in the city, it's not going to do us any good to bring in a new city manager.
Right, the 4 bullet points, he says that as a result of this seminar, I hope you are very, very clear on who you are as a city commission. How do you want to operate this city? Then from that, what kind of city manager do we need? And what would the qualifications be for the city manager in order to run the city as the city commission defines it as it needs to run? And you got to look at our history. Every time we get a city manager, I can remember the last 2 or 3 outside of the last former one that was here for 6 years, they've only lasted a couple of years at the most. And there was a reason for that. The defining of the roles of everybody is out of whack.
So what is this to decide whether we want to have this?
Well, in order for him to, this is his proposal. He'll give us all the information we need by going through this training, which his franchise fee for the 2 days is $8,000. It's very expensive. But he said, in the long run, it's very reasonable. It's going to save us $500,000 they project in the future by having a mishire. That's what they look at. And we pay for his expenses, which is 2 days, compact car, meals, inexpensive hotel, he says, and lodging. It should be under 10, he said just under $10,000 for the 2 days.
Are there some resources available from the MML about what steps to go through?
There is. We've looked into that, and that was rather expensive too. I believe Ken checked into that, and that was somewhere in the range of, wasn't it like $30,000?
No, the highest was 20, and it was staggered with a premium kind of package and then a basic package with some in-house help. They could tailor a proposal to you depending on how many meetings you wanted to have, whatever. So, but that was their guide, was the range from, anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, and then they'd be willing to put a proposal together. They'd need to know a little bit more, how many meetings did you want to have with commissioners, staff, whatnot to tailor. So we don't have a specific proposal, but that was the guideline. And I handed out that informational sheet of what each of those.
That was just for hiring. That was just to hire, though.
Yeah,
nope, that would bring it to a 120-day thing for you to do that.
Once this process
it's
is
not
done,
a strategic planning session, for
this
it.
So
it
this is prior to hiring.
Yes.
So the MML does not do any of this stuff ever?
No.
Yep, they meet with the city commission to find out
No,
here
but I mean,
whatever.
could they do
marketing.
any of this stuff?
I have to pull the thing out again. I don't have it committed to memory, but if you give me a minute, I can pull that out for you.
Well, the biggest thing about this, after you're done with this session, then you go into your process of hiring a firm, request for proposals, on putting out your requirements for a city manager. And Lordstone Corporation is willing to still be on board with that with us. Because he's been actually not charging us for anything.
He's actually been doing a lot of this pro bono.
I told him in his phone conversation, I said, 3 years ago, if you told me we were going to spend $10,000 to do what you're offering to do here, I said I would have been livid as a citizen in the city. But being in the position I am now and some of the decisions that I've been involved in and how our city has been trying to move forward, I have no problem in trying to get a city manager in here that wants to be here, that's willing to stay here, and has everything spelled out ahead of time on how things should be operating. That's what I'm looking at.
Where would the funds for this come from, Eric? Would that come out of the general fund, or would that come out of the commission fund, or?
I would guess, it would have to come out of the commissioner's fund. I don't know how that's exactly sitting right now.
Vicki? All right. Well, I found this very informative, and I do believe these guys could help us out a lot, especially, just defining what our roles in the city are from the commission right down to the frontline staff.
Eric said on it. Let him speak and see what he thinks.
Well, when we spoke that day, it sounded like they were going to spend some time with staff and employees also.
Right.
And it didn't look like there was any list of that in this last meeting. That was, I guess, my concern.
He's talking 2 days here, and when we discussed it, I believe he said he'd like to spend 1 day with the commission and the other day with staff. That's what I got out of that, isn't that what he said, Steve, I thought?
Well, he did at that meeting, but he felt that the commission and if possible, if time, which he doubted there would. I just paraphrased a lot of the stuff he said. The intern city manager would be involved in it, if time permitted. They're very thorough in what they did. Everybody on this commission, except our new commissioner, was involved in it.
Yes.
So it's just a matter if you want to. You're going to have to spend something somewhere down the line. And he said, in the long run, what did you think about what he talked about?
I thought it was really good. made a lot of good points. We really do need to understand.
And he's going to chart it.
Where we wanna go,
It's going to be charted. It ain't something like we just learn it and then it gets thrown away. This will be charted, and we'll be able to adopt a lot of the stuff that we learn to pass on to former commissions, and it can be honed in on for eternity. We spend a lot of money on a lot of things. I think we should spend a lot of money on our community for the future. To get somebody in here that's willing to be here for a long period of time.
How many people would be involved in this? Is this just the
5.
No, the Mr. Ketchum or Mr. McIntyre?
Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Jeff Ketchum, yes.
So there'd be 2 people covered under the $10,000.
Yes.
Okay. And that would be 2 days?
2 days.
2 days. 1 day with commissioners, one day with staff?
2 days, exactly what it says in that letter. If necessary, or if time permits, the city manager would be involved, but he does not foresee that. That's exactly what it says in there.
So what's the 2 full days?
Yep.
Again, just for my clarification, he would be meeting with us?
Just us.
Just us.
That's, and whoever in the public wants to show up. But there wouldn't be any interaction except what's required by the Open Meetings Act, which would be what, public comment at the beginning or end?
We get an actual letter from them outlining exactly what
Right here,
this is going to be.
September 26, 2016. You can reference that letter.
And that outlines exactly what will happen in those 2 days.
That and what they talked about here. If you read it,
I don't have a copy of that letter.
yeah, because we were not a commission.
Right.
I'd just like to see something that shows what the deliverable is here.
Yes, I guess that's my question too.
You know, something that spells out exactly what's going to happen in these.
What
2 days.
product they're going to deliver?
Like an itinerary, you know, how this is going to be structured. You know, it's not just going to be a 2 days of sitting around the table talking and flip charting, is it?
No.
There must be an agenda.
Well,
that we're
there
gonna
is.
follow.
I mean, I think we know how we want to operate as a city. I think we're all pretty intelligent people here and get intelligent input from our community that what type of person we do want to hire. I'm not saying this isn't worthwhile, but I agree, Commissioner Thompson, that I'd like to see an outline or some type of
Like an
deliverable
actual
product.
contract
Yes.
says what it's going to
Proposal.
Yeah.
Day 1, here's
Yeah.
what we're going to cover. Day 2, here's what we're going to cover. Here's what you will be provided with at the end of session 1. These guidelines, this end of session, whatever it might be, here's the product you're going to have to move forward on.
I agree. For $10,000, I want to see exactly what.
Well, he wrote what he said. I don't know what else you would need.
Just have him.
Just that, an exact outline of what he's going to
Outline.
do each day.
Yeah.
Kind of like if you were going to go to a seminar, you'd get it.
Mhm.
You know, you'd have a brochure that says, you know, this is what we're going to do at this seminar. We're going to, you know, day 1 we're going to start with this, and you know,
Right.
we'll break for lunch, and then we'll do this. And
I think an important part of this would be for them, if they're going to be hired, is to spend some time with the employees personally. And as far as roles of the commission, we have to follow the city charter and the guide for elected officials that Kim passed out, so that would have to be followed also. There's some specifics in the charter on as far as roles go that are not.
Right, on the makeup of the city. If you're looking to change the charter, I mean, that's a whole charter amendment process and takes at least a year to do that. You know, that's a whole thing. If you're changing
I
that.
don't think we're asking for that.
I'm not sure what you're asking for, but I'm just answering Eric's question with the charter amendment. So you have that laid out, and then also within that it'll say the operations or the departments that exist.
Discussion, so you don't create roles that are, against the charter.
charter is much harder to change than
I-
an ordinance.
I don't think 2 days is enough myself. I think you really need more than 2 days, and I think you would really need to understand, get out there and talk to everybody. 'Cause I don't, and I'm not tight in, but looking at the city, I don't see it as a unified team. I see a lot of individuals running the city, and I don't see one team. And I think, you need one team with one strong leader. And to get there, just going out and hiring somebody, I don't think we're going to be successful. Our track record of success is just not there. And I don't know why we would think it would be any different than it has been in the past unless we change something fundamentally. So I think something like this would be good, but I just don't know that you could do it in 2 days. I think a lot more needs to be considered to understand, what policies and people need to be in place to make it one team. I guess I would like to see what the plan is for the 2 days. I mean, this is kind of a vague general plan, and it looks good, but it would, before I committed $10,000, I think I would want to have a little more definition.
I would agree. I'd like to see a proposal on his outline of his presentation and his process.
Does someone want to make a motion on that?
Would it be a problem to get a proposal, you think?
I can ask. I mean, I don't think it is. I just.
Yeah, I mean, that we table this until Steve finds out whether we can get a proposal on what exactly we're going to get in 2 days and see what his thoughts are on maybe.
We'll get his
interacting with the
syllabus on
staff.
his process on, he's very well experienced. If you looked at all the letters that he sent us or information, he's highly renowned, did the city of Las Vegas. They were having a lot of problems there with stuff that people weren't seeing eye to eye with the citizens, the commission, the staff, and did a lot of government, big, huge projects. So I will.
I mean, I'm not disputing it. I think it can work too, but I'm kind of in agreement with these guys that if you're going to commit to $10,000, we should know what we're going to get out of it in the end.
Okay.
Just like anything you're going to submit for a bit,
There was a motion. Is there support on it?
What was the motion?
I thought you
I
tabled it.
I move that we table it until Steve finds out if he can get us a budget and a proposal.
I'd support that.
All right, motion by Commissioner Phelan, support by Commissioner Thompson to table it till we get a discussion on what the syllabus and all that stuff would be. Do you want a date, or is it okay if we just
You
table it?
can put a date in, it'll stay on as unfinished business until
Okay,
you
we'll
don't.
just leave it on there.
Right, if you have the proposal to get it in for the packet, which the next meeting's a week from today.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion on it?
I like the idea. I just think I'd like to understand more, what we're going to do.
I agree.
But I definitely think it looks like a good idea to me.
Hopefully I can get something by the next meeting, which is a week away.
Yep.
I mean, we need to move forward on this as quick as possible. I mean, I read in the paper tonight, thank God for the paper, that Escanava's looking for their new city manager tomorrow, and any commissioner wants to go in and see how they're going to do that process. They're having a special meeting tomorrow night. And I might just see if I can take a walk over there and see how they're handling it.
That would be interesting.
All right, so all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next is Michigan and medical marijuana. Paul is here tonight. Just do a brief synopsis on a very long law that's going to be affecting all of us as a county and a city.
Good evening, Commissioners. In the packets for October 10th, I had included some information that was just just that for your information. Effective December 20th this year, there's 3 new public acts, 281, 282, and 283 that take effect. Public Act 281 creates the Michigan Medical Marijuana Licensing Board. Part of Public Act 281 and the creation of that board through the Licensing and Regulatory Affairs Department of the state creates 5 different types of licenses for the medical marijuana issue in the state. There's going to be a new grower's license, a processor's license, secure transporter's license, provisioning center's license, and a safety compliance facility license. Public Act 281 basically affects the medical marijuana industry in the state because it provides for the licenses to be issued to these different types of facilities. It does not affect the current medical marijuana issue with respect to an individual caregiver who possesses a caregiver license and a card holder that possesses a medical marijuana use card. They fall outside of the provisions of that. This deals with facilities that are set up under the new Public Act to grow and produce medical marijuana products, whether they be smokable products or edible products or whatever, and it licenses these facilities. The key to Public Act 281 is that it is entirely under a local control in terms of if a municipality such as Gladstone decides that they do not want to have any of these facilities in their city, essentially they have to do nothing. We would have to pass an ordinance allowing those facilities within our community. And there's provisions on how to do that as part of Public Act 281. But basically, it's giving that local control to the communities to say if they want those types of facilities in their community, they can have them. They would have to pass an ordinance authorizing them. Or if they don't want to have them, we would just do nothing. There is provisions within the Act allowing us to charge an annual fee of up to $5,000 for our approval of a facility, whether it be a grower or a processor or a secure transporting facility or something along those lines. And there's a new 3% tax on the gross sales of medical marijuana products. That 3% tax on the gross sales is then broken down into percentages on how it's distributed to the communities that allow them to be within their boundaries. I believe 25% goes to the municipality, 30% goes straight to the county, 5% gets allocated out to the counties as well. That goes to the sheriff, the county sheriff. The state gets 20%. I think 5% goes to the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards, and there's 5% that goes to Michigan State Police. Not sure if that adds up to 100, but it's pretty close. So that's basically Public Act 281, which takes effect December 20th of this year, but it really doesn't start to come into play until 360 days from December 20th. That's when entities can start applying to the Michigan Medical Marijuana Licensing Board. Within 90 days of receiving those applications, which will be next December, if the city, in that interim period, if we want to pass an ordinance that would allow this, after they get that application next December, we would have to submit our ordinance authorizing it, their application to the licensing board, the fees and everything else, for then the state to approve that to take place here in Gladstone. The prosecutor, Delta County Prosecutor Phil Strom, has sent out a message to us, at least on the law enforcement end, and I believe he's going to be extending that message out to the Escanaba City Council, the Gladstone Commission, the Delta County Board of Commissioners, to meet and discuss the issues involved with these acts, at least so that we have all the information, both the positives, possible positives or negatives, impacts of this. It's probably going to take place at one of the joint governmental sessions at some point. So that's the basics of 281. Public Act 282 is part of this. It creates a seed-to-sale tracking system within the state of Michigan. Again, only for these new types of licenses. Doesn't apply to a single caregiver who is growing marijuana and supplying it to their patients on a one-to-one basis. But for those facilities, there would be a seed-to-sale tracking system. They would have to have third-party software that would, coexist with the state software, so that marijuana that's being transported or used can be tracked back to where it was initially grown, processed, sold, used, etc. Public Act 283 is the final act that was part of this passage of 3 bills, and that dealt with marijuana-infused products, either the oils or the edibles that you're seeing or that you may be hearing about coming out of different places. Marijuana can be used a lot of different ways rather than just smoked. It's used, like I said, in different oils, lotions, edibles. So that's basically what 281, 282, and 283 are. Very top level, broad overview of the 3 public acts. The Prosecutors Association of Michigan sent us a brief 3-page document on the new laws and how they're going to affect us on the law enforcement end. It's in about type 2.5 font about the different things that are going to be affecting us and how we're supposed to try to enforce this. It's going to be difficult. If the city of Gladstone decides that they want these types of facilities in the city, we'll certainly have to, make whatever arrangements or whatever planning that we can do to try to, provide the oversight that's needed on our end for these facilities. We're still going to be dealing with them in some ways with the secure transporters, even going through or from the area. But whether or not we want to have one of the 5 types of facilities in town is entirely up to you as the board. We would have to pass an ordinance authorizing it. So that's just the brief summary, and I hope that the joint governmental session or some meeting that's planned in the future will be able to get more into the details. The Prosecuting Attorneys Association has a couple individuals. One is Ken Stecker, who's the expert on this as far as how communities are going to be over the next year dealing with this and trying to address it and make plans for when it truly becomes effective, which is next December. So, are there any questions? I know we've had to delay this a couple times. I've been out of town for some of the meetings, so but that's basically a broad overview of what these 3 acts are.
The $5,000 licensing fee, up to $5,000, is that yearly? Is that a one-time fee? Is that
it's an annual license?
Annual licensing.
It would be an annual license,
and that's per type of license.
That's per type of license. Yep.
But the way I read it, it's one person can't own 2 of those types of licenses.
No, they can't.
They have to be separate entities doing
right.
it.
They have to be. You can't have a tie-in. You can't be a
next
grower.
question.
You can't be a grower and a processor and a transporter
and pay one fee.
Right.
No, they have to be separate entities. They don't want you intermingling them 5 licenses.
And they also are doing. The statistics that have come out on the licenses. There's 182,091 medical marijuana cards in the state of Michigan, of which just over 34,000 are caregivers. The state average for caregivers to cardholders is 18.8%. Delta County, of the UP counties, we're ranked number 2. We have 913 cards, medical marijuana cards, in our county, 208 of which are caregivers. So our ratio of caregivers to cardholders is 22.8%. The only other county that's higher is Marquette in terms of number of cards. I think actually we have the highest ratio. Us and Dickinson County are right there. So, so it's, you know, there's a lot of stories coming about Colorado meeting the Maine state that initiated the whole medical marijuana issue, and how there's been some good consequences for that. There's been some bad consequences as well. You know, of the cards that are issued in the state of Michigan, 92.86%, the reason is severe or chronic pain. Just under 24% is severe and persistent muscle spasms, and 8% is severe nausea. So those are the main reasons for the card issuances. Just some interesting facts about what's going on in the state of Michigan, but.
And the next thing you know, they're going to make it legalized.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Did Colorado now, it's legalized?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and there is a push to put that on a ballot referendum in Michigan. This last go around, they didn't certify enough signatures, I guess, is what the reason I understood. Many of the offenses associated with these new public acts are civil infractions. There tends to be a feeling in law enforcement that that's where it might be headed. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. Thank you. There's no other questions.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, next up is the Planning Commission appointment for Mr. Tom Butch. He would fulfill the vacancy from Brad Mantilla with a term expiring of October 2018. In the packet that we just got today had his application, and he was the city attorney for Gladstone from 75 to 2013, so he's lived here basically his whole life.
Well, I'll move that we appoint Mr. Tom Butch on the Planning Commission.
I'll support.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner View and a support by Commissioner Phelan to appoint Tom Butch to the Gladstone Planning Commission. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the DDA appointment for Miss Judy Owens with a vacancy of May 1st, 2020. She's a real estate agent at the statewide real estate that just came into town.
Did she fall under the property owner
Yes.
vacancy? Okay.
So that still leaves a vacancy under the open slot.
So that's DDA district down there where the building is?
Yep. Yeah, the second sheet in the packet, if you can see who's representing what. To the left side, the requirement, that's the requirement of the makeup that we have to have, so.
Vacancy. Well, I'll move that we appoint Miss Judy Owens.
I'll support.
All right, motion.
DDA.
All right, motion by Commissioner View, support by Commissioner Thompson to appoint Miss Judy Owens to DDA. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up is the amend the current section 125 plan.
We currently have a Section 125 plan which allows employees to set aside money from their checks for daycare and medical expenses pre-tax, and then they have to use it up, all of it except $500 by the end of the year. We've had this for close to 15 years, 20 years. And Vicky can explain it better.
This is a flex spending
Yeah.
It's
rather
a
than
flex
an
spending
HSA?
account, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now
it's a
they're
flex
offering a
spending
card.
account that employees can deduct it to use towards their medical expenses or their daycare expenses. It's completely employee deduction driven. There's no match by the city or anything like that. And what I did is what we did was we just added a couple benefits. One was a debit card for easier reimbursement for medical expenses. And then they also have the option to carry over $500 to the next plan year.
What would happen to that $500 if they didn't use it? You just got to pay it to them at the end of the year?
Normally they would have to use it.
Or lose it?
Use
Yeah.
it or lose it, yeah.
If they lose it, where do they lose it
Yeah,
to?
where does it go?
To the city.
So
To
this
the
is like
cities.
giving them an extra $500 if they don't use it.
Well, it's their money,
It's
though.
their
money.
It's their
Oh, it's their
money
money?
out of their, it's
Oh, I mean,
completely
They
employee
put their own
deduct.
money in
It's
and they lose their
pre-tax.
own money?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just pre-tax.
So it saves the city a little
How
bit
much,
too.
what's the benefit to paying with a debit card rather than cutting them a check for their expenses? How much is a
The
debit
city
card?
doesn't actually cut the check. This is administered by a third party. It's United Healthcare, I believe, is who it's actually through. So
Who
they,
pays the fees
instead
on a
of,
debit card?
pardon me?
Who's going to pay the fees on a debit card? Would that be
There are
all-
no fees on the debit card.
Somebody has to pay.
Whoever takes it, probably.
Whoever, Walmart would pay the fees, or Walgreens Pharmacy would pay the fees, whoever they use the
Process like a
debit card.
credit card.
Mhm.
Credit card for.
So there's no expenses that the city is going to be incurring by giving these benefits or adding these benefits to the plan.
Why is it why do we have to adopt a resolution and not be a part of the contract? Is there a,
Well, you're going to be adopting the resolution. The recommendation is to allow the city manager to sign the resolution, and then also to sign the plan document, the amending plan document.
wouldn't this be part of the union contract to allow something like this? Different, I mean, does it make a difference which way it goes?
This isn't actually a part of the union
This
contract.
isn't
No.
part of the union.
These
For
are
all
just
city
employees.
employees.
This
This
is
is a
just a-
cafeteria plan for employees.
It's just a benefit.
It's just like a health bonus. It's totally funded by them. The city puts no money in it.
So they just have so much deducted out of their check
Yep.
each payday, and then they get to use it towards,
Yep, their
Medical
healthcare
or
costs.
daycare expenses.
Saves you
Daycare.
25%.
is it optional for them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't have to go. Oh, I understand a little better now, so, thank you.
I'll make the motion that we amend the current section 125 plan to include the added benefits.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner Phelan, to amend the current section 125 plan to include added benefits. Any discussion?
Now, is it a benefit, or is it just a process? Well, I mean, if somebody from the public asks me,
It's a benefit that we offer to our employees, so they can self-fund,
Yeah.
self-funded benefit,
Okay.
that they can, it helps them with their year-end tax.
The benefit is it's pre-tax.
It's pre-tax.
Everything is taken off.
So-
And the benefit is if they don't use that up, they're not losing that
Right.
$500. They can roll that into the next year.
Year.
It's their money.
yeah, okay. Sounds good to me.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up is the excessive force policy for CDBG grant efficiency.
Yes, the CDBG grant money that we got from the big freeze, 200 and something, I don't remember how many, 280,000. Anyway, at the end of, after we got our final dollar amount, they came and did an audit, and these are a couple of housekeeping type deficiencies that they found when they did the audit on how we do stuff, and so we're required to adopt these policies in order to get any future CDBG grant money. We should need to have this as these just city policies.
So this is the actual excessive force policy right here
Yep. Yes,
in
it
its
is.
entirety?
Well, for the purposes of the CGB,
To qualify for that.
Yeah.
the language they need, but our use of force policy is about 35 pages long. To me, this is redundant, but that's what's required, the language that they needed. So I amended our policy to include the language that is in as sample resolution of the resolution.
So this is just a resolution that says that our policy was amended to include the necessary language to comply with.
Resolution directing,
Yeah,
directing
do it.
me to amend our policy to comply with that, the language of that, Title I of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1973.
Basically, it's a cut and
Our use
paste.
of force policy prohibits excessive force in any situation, but the language that's required via
CDBG.
needs to be that specific language. So I included that in our policy that affected page 2 of our 30-page policy.
Is that just like the demonstrating people, or?
Civil demonstrations, civil right demonstrations, yes. But like I said, it would have been prohibited in our policy as is, but this is the language that they used.
Well, I'll move that we approve resolution number 2016-15, the addition to the excessive force policy.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Ryu, support by Commissioner Thompson. Any discussion?
Is this a policy that'll come back to the commission for approval then? This policy change? Is that a,
Or is it just being
is
added
this a
on?
city policy or is this just an internal,
These are internal police department policies.
okay, separate from general city policies? Okay.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is Section 3 Policy Plan for CDBG grant.
Here is another one. Similar, this one has to do with the Housing and Urban Development Act on who we're supposed to target. Renee might be able to address it better.
This is another one that they found in the audit.
Yeah.
So for CDBG funding, they require certain policies and procedures to be followed, and certain policies and procedures have to be in place. We do follow Section 3 policy guidelines, and what that means for Section 3 is that any new hires that a contractor hires when they're working with CDBG funding, they have to target low-income people from within the area that they're working in, or within the county that they're working in, or somewhere within the locale, basically. I don't know how many pages are in this. It's lengthy. It's their standard document. We have not ever... Section 3 has been in place for 30 years. Within the last 5 years, MISTA has started to enforce it because HUD is requiring that it's being enforced, and so cities across the state are being forced to not only implement these policies, but to have them put into the books and passed by commissions and forced to be.
Do we enforce it? Is it up to us
We
to
do.
enforce this?
We have never utilized CDBG funds or HUD funding where new hires have been hired. So yes, we do enforce it, but no, it's never been in effect since I've been here.
So,
Is it gonna
let
cost
me
us
just
money?
clarify this, that the CDBG money, now we gave to, didn't we give some of this to,
Giroux Contracting?
no, right here, wasn't that, LFAB? Was that some of that?
Different,
Oh.
totally different funds. See, the Section 3 money is federal money.
So, I mean, Section 3 policies, whenever you're using federal dollars, that's when Section 3 is going to hit you. And it's for rehab projects. So it's going to be your housing loans, your urgent need grants, infrastructure things that we do, maybe some street projects in the future. So this is going to help us close out the urgent need grant that we had, and it will also put something in place so that future grants are lined up and we have this in place. We require contractors, when they bid on our projects, to know and understand what Section 3 guidelines are, and they have to follow them. So if a contractor is awarded over a certain dollar amount, they have to follow these guidelines. So it's really up to them, but it's up to us to ensure that we're putting the mechanisms in place so that they're following the guidelines. QPAD was our third-party administrator for this grant, and it really fell on QPAD to administer, but QPAD, just like the cities, have never, we've known that Section 3 exists, but it's never been, nobody's ever made us comply with it. It's one of those rules that sit there that, yep, you should do that, and if you do it, good job, you get a pat on the back, but it's never been forced to be applied until just recently. So that's why we got dinged with it. It's something that, so we've had HUD money before. We've never been dinged with this, but now that HUD is enforcing it, they have to ding the local community so that the compliance is gained. So that's why it's there. And in all honesty, I can tell you that I don't understand fully every single token of the policy. But in the event that we do have another contract with a contractor, they have to understand it.
They'll have to prove that they can meet Section 3s before we can hire.
And only if they're using those funds.
Yes. Well, they can meet it anytime they want,
Right.
but it basically is encouraging hiring.
Well, these funds require it.
These funds require it.
There are lots of rules within HUD funding, federal funding, that are just way over my head, and that's why we often use QPAD, because that's what they do. They ensure that all of these things are met. And when we contracted with QPAD this last round with urgent need, I mentioned to Peter Van Steen that I knew that from training that I had went to, that Section 3 was going to be enforced, and he didn't even know what Section 3 was. So we did work through those issues and make sure that the contractor was aware of it. The contractors are aware, especially the large ones. You know, smaller contractors aren't going to even know what Section 3 means, but Coleman Engineering had it in their bid packet, and it was right in their specs. The larger ones that work with HUD funding more often are very well aware of it. It's a hoop, I understand, and unfortunately, you know, it makes every grant that we get a little bit more cumbersome to administer, and just things that we have to deal with if we want to get federal funding. Also in your packet, I did put the response to Sean Haddad, the specialist that did come in and do our site review, or our monitoring review. And so in there you can see all the things that we were written up for, and the method that we had to take to correct the deficiency. They are still holding our grant open. It's not officially closed, and they will hold it open until we correct this deficiency. Not putting pressure on you, but if we don't pass this, we wouldn't be eligible for future funding from them.
I think it makes sense. I move that we approve Section 3 policy plan for the urgent need deficiencies.
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Phelan, support by Commissioner Thompson, to approve the Section 3 policy plan. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up is the building inspector position.
Should have stayed up there.
In light of our building inspector we're using, Mike Lindahl resigned his position, and so we've been in talk with the county and researching what our options are, if we should hire another person or go through the county as City of Escanaba is doing. Renee can explain it a lot better than I, so.
About 3 years ago, before we looked at hiring another building inspector for the city of Gladstone, we talked with the county and reviewed what they offer and what that might do for us. And at that time, they had a brand new building inspector that was covering a large area, and he was brand new to zoning, and he was also covering the Delta County zoning. And we were a bit leery about having had our own building inspector for a number of years and then going to the county with a brand new person that we didn't know much about. And so we did at that time choose to continue with our own building inspector. With the recent resignation of our current building inspector, we looked at that again and decided what are the pros and cons of going with the county. And I've been talking quite a bit to local contractors that use both our city inspector and the county inspector, and just kind of weighing out, you know, do you see benefits? Do you see drawbacks? What are the pros and cons? Some of the biggest comments that I've had from contractors is that it would be nice to have a consistent fee system, a consistent person looking at the same things, whether they're in the county or in the city. I also spoke with Jim O'Toole about how is it working for the city of Escanaba. His only comment, as I stated, was that he wished he'd went to it sooner. It relieved a lot of pressure for the city. In addition, we had our ISO rating review that came through. I know that you're used to hearing about it when the big review session happens with him. In the ISO rating, there's also a local just for the building inspector component of that, and our rating actually dropped a little bit, and it was largely because nothing that we did wrong or changed, but we went from a building inspector with 20 years of experience to a building inspector with 2 years of experience, and you're not eligible for certain criteria unless you have 3 or more years of experience, and so that dropped us slightly. I don't think that it'll be a huge impact, but going to a county system will help boost us back up to where we were. Finally, one of the other reasons that we looked at is that the state is always requiring more and more and more of these inspectors, certifications, trainings, licensing processes that have to be met. It's been difficult for us to keep up with those expenses. It will continue to be hard for us. I think I proposed to you, it was about a year ago, there's a library system that's required for building inspectors to have on site. We did meet that through coordinating with the Northern Michigan Coalition of Building Inspectors so that we didn't have to purchase a $25,000 library set. So we utilize theirs online. That would be another resource that we could share with the county position. I'm pretty comfortable. I know the county building inspector now. I've worked with him for about 3 years. Both our retired building inspector and the building inspector that just resigned both felt very comfortable going with the county. And our local contractors have voiced, that they thought that would be a comfortable switch for them also. So the only drawbacks that I see are that on good years we could lose some revenue. On bad years we're going to lose some expenses, so that's a good trade-off. The other negative I see is that we don't have local control over it anymore, but the state mandates exactly what they do, so we don't have a lot of local control anyway, other than the hours they have and the phone number and how you reach them. Everything else is pretty much mandated by the state.
What about the fee structure? Is that about the same then, or?
Yeah, I've looked at the county fee structure many times just to see where we compare and how we compare. On smaller projects, we're a little bit more expensive than they are, but on larger projects, they're a little bit more expensive. So, it just depends on the projects that are happening. I don't know if there's a pro or con to that, but the fees are paid by the people who are encountering the fees. So,
citizens.
Yeah. So that would fall to them. When I mentioned that to the contractors, do you see a huge difference? And they said no, but, you know, they pay the fees, but they write them off to the person that's paying for the service, so it doesn't really impact them that much.
Well, we don't have any choice really anyways.
Well, we do. We could hire we could hire somebody and go through the training process again.
We would train them? We wouldn't hire someone that was trained?
The way that the licensing process works, you hire somebody and then you pay to have them licensed for your city. That's how it works. That's the state process. So you hire somebody that's lined up for it, but you still have to pay for that certification for them to work within your city, in your jurisdiction. And what I would recommend if we do want to move to the county, we've talked with Ryan Bergman several times. I don't know that they're excited about having us. They're not excited, but they think that they may have to hire somebody to help assist them in the future because they'll be picking up another community. But I would recommend that if we were to move forward with this, that we'd have some sort of memorandum of understanding with the county. There's a couple ways you can do it. You could revoke your code that says we no longer are going to offer building inspections. And then that forces it to the county because the county is required to pick it up by the state through state laws and codes. I don't recommend that because I would like to keep the option open for the city to have that back at some time. Not only that, but when you change your code, there's money involved in that. Every time you change any word in the code, it costs money. It costs staff time, it costs recodification costs, it costs publication costs. There's always fees associated with changing the code. So I would recommend that we just keep it the same and just have a memorandum of understanding with the county. And then that way, if we wanted to revoke that at any time, we could and go back to a system that we offer it ourselves.
Could they turn us down on this if we just asked them for this?
They could if we just asked for a memorandum of understanding. But from our conversations with the county, they want to work with us and they're willing to provide that service.
Well, I see that we'd save over $3,000 just on what you have here from what expenses are to what our building
for revenue. This year. For this fiscal year that I ran, yes. Yeah. It depends on the fiscal year. I'm not going to lie to you. Some years we make a little money. Sometimes we lose a little money.
It's probably a trade-off then. So
I look at it as providing a more consistent service to the community.
Well, I'll move that we, the building inspector position go to the county. I guess that's what we're asking for.
You want to work in that memorandum of understanding?
With the memorandum of understanding for the zoning, what was that part again? The zoning code?
No, just a memorandum of understanding that they will provide that service for us.
Okay.
That way in the future, if they get a new inspector that we really don't care for, or if there's some problems, we can go back and
keeps our options open.
We originally did this because we were back in the building boom. We had a lot of building going on, and we didn't want our contractors to have to wait for inspectors. We wanted to go bang, bang, bang. So.
All right. So we got a motion by Commissioner View, support by Commissioner Phelan, to have the county take over it with the understanding.
Memorandum of understanding.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
you. All right. Next up is the city, village, and township revenue sharing program.
Attached is our annual Citizens Guide Performance Dashboard. Every community that gets revenue sharing with the state is required to put one of these out. Vicki put a whole lot of time and effort and artwork into all this stuff, so she can explain it.
This is our yearly document that we have to put together and submit to the state in order to receive our state revenue sharing. It is the Citizens Guide Performance Dashboard, Debt Service Report, and then a very generic projected budget for the next fiscal year. Like I said, these reports are required to be submitted by us to the state by December 1st. It's a very lengthy document. I don't know if you want me to go through it.
Seen them before.
There's a lot of good, useful information in there. As far as some of the graphs, expenses, revenues. You can take a look to see where we get our revenues from. Of course, 55% of the general fund is from taxes, property taxes. Largest expenditure in the general fund is public safety, with the next largest being general government, which is treasurer, clerk, manager, all the city hall departments. There's some graphs in there to show the progression of property tax revenue as well as state shared revenue. A little bit of history on our employees, the number of full-time, part-time. This document is required for us to have it on our website. Sometimes we have it up at the front window, and I believe Cindy puts it in our new resident packets as well. So we do try to use this document as much as we can. So we're just looking for a motion for you to approve the report and allow the city manager to sign the necessary documents to submit it to the state for December 1st.
I'll make the motion to approve the report and allow the city manager to sign the necessary documents to submit to the state of Michigan.
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner Mantala to approve the report and allow the city manager to sign the necessary documents to submit to the state of Michigan. Any discussion?
I always like to highlight this dollar bill page. It shows where your tax dollars going in when you get, I'm sure commissioners have gotten, we have people that come in and say, taxes are too high in Gladstone. We accept that. But go to the other people and complain too. It's not all us. It's
we do keep that up at the front window as well.
we just have George's head in there, and the rest of it is the other people.
All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is delinquent special assessments for the winter 2016 property tax bill.
According to Chapter 8, Section 12 of the City Charter, it allows us to assess delinquent utilities, miscellaneous invoices, and special assessments as a lien on the tax roll. This item before you right now is just specifically for special assessment. These people would have received a letter in October with a due date of November 15th, and these were the ones that failed to pay before the deadline. So these are slated to go off to the winter 2016 tax bills. So we're just looking for a motion to allow staff to assess these delinquent special assessment invoices to the winter 2016 property tax bills.
Also move that you can do that. Special
support.
assessment.
All right, motion by Commissioner View, support by Commissioner Thompson to allow staff to assess delinquent special assessments to the winter 2016 property tax bill. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now it's a delinquent miscellaneous invoices off the taxes.
This is the same thing, just miscellaneous invoices, which are grass cutting, broken rental inspection, unpaid fence permit.
Good question. What does the animal control skunk removal?
That's an abandoned house.
Who goes over and gets that skunk out? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I don't remember what his name is, but he's.
Apparently.
That's the same house.
Well, there was a $60 skunk and a $150
Yeah, I see
skunk,
that.
so that other one must have been ornery.
A little bigger or something, I don't know.
I'll make a motion that we assess miscellaneous invoices to the winter 2016 tax bills accordingly.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner View, support by Commissioner Phelan to assess miscellaneous invoices of winter 2016 tax bills accordingly.
It's
Any-
Commissioner Thompson.
Oh, sorry. All right, any discussion?
What salvage sale unpaid? I was just curious about,
We had a couple trucks. One of them was our wastewater truck that had a blown. The engine was old and it had a blown
junk
transmission.
salvage that you were
Junks.
supposed to get money for? And
Yeah, and they came, picked them up, and
Never sent us the money.
never sent us the money.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Mhm.
All right, so all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now delinquent utility bills off the taxes.
And last but not least, this is probably one of the best delinquent utilities off to taxes that we've had.
The lowest, you mean?
Yes. I think since 2010. The majority of it, 65%, is business. If we did not have the businesses on there, we would be down to about $2,300, which is excellent. Patty worked very, very
Can't read it.
hard on getting payments in
12,000.
for past due balances. So,
So what does this go on the tax roll to?
I have just one question, Vicki.
mhm.
On the spreadsheet total, there it says 13,429, and then over on the kind of the tabulation underneath there, it says 12,208 for the total. What's the difference there?
Totals are with
Mm.
10% penalty. So if you add the 10%
Yeah.
Oh,
penalty
okay.
in.
Yep, that 12,208 is just the utility
Just the
balance.
utility balance, and then the
Then
other
you
total,
add in the 10% penalty, and then that's the total of
Your total's
13,400.
actually
13,429 is the total to be collected.
Yes. Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, I move that we put the delinquent utility bills on the taxes.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Phelan, support by Commissioner View to assess delinquent utilities of winter 2016 tax bills. Any discussion?
Do they usually pay them then?
Mhm.
Well, sometimes people go 3 years and their property goes up for sale.
That happens sometimes.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. All right, next up is city manager's report.
Old-fashioned Christmas happened on Friday. I was out of town. I missed it, but I guess it went over very well. And thanks to all the staff members, put a lot of hours in, and Shelley Claycomb, who was took it over and took the bull by the horns. I guess it turned out really well. I don't know if anybody else went to it. Ben Hewitt, our new employee for the rec department, replacing Kyle McIntyre. He started on Monday. Parks and Rec, he's the Parks Maintenance and Janitor position. We had 33 applicants, and we interviewed 4 of them. And Ben was selected. He's a current homeowner in the city of Gladstone, and has with his family, and lives right in city limits. So that'll be nice. He'll be able to be on call for those emergencies at the bathrooms in the middle of the night. I don't know if the commissioners noticed, but we had some of the trees removed on Lakeshore Drive with the highway project going along, and then talking to some of the people that live in the condos. They've always wish that they had a better view. The property below that is is the EPA cleanup site, and there was a bunch of trees that were knocked down there, so I had a contractor cleaning that up, and at the same time we had, took a look at what trees we wanted, what trees we didn't want, so we had them clean that whole area up, and it makes for a lot better view down there, and we hope to do some more of that next year. This portion this year we'll be able to fund with our EPA site money, so we get reimbursed for. Guys went and picked up our new used sludge tanker. Finally, everything's all put together. We went and picked it up on the 18th in Green Bay. It's a used truck Peterbilt with a new tank on it. We used the Escanabas truck to finish off our sludge hauling to the fall. And, so now it'll be all set for spring hauling. Friday at 11 o'clock, the group from, is it the group from MSU, Renee? Or MSU Extension wants to take a walk down at the Buckeye Bay area, the property down along the lake shore, and this just came up today and is inviting if any of the commissioners want to go down. It'll be from 11 to 12 in that area. We'll be walking the shoreline and showing them what's the property we're looking at.
Are they the ones doing this study? Study?
Yeah, we okayed the money for it to do the study,
Yeah.
the $7,500.
That's the group that Michigan State.
That's this Friday?
We just found out today.
Do we have four-wheelers to go with?
There won't be any wood ticks down there now.
No.
There's a lot of them down there in the spring.
Garbage truck. Again, our garbage truck is still under warranty. It's in the shop. Engine problems again. Talking with Tiger Van Brocklin, our new mechanic. That motor, I think we're going to have a meeting with the equipment crew and look at what our options are. The warranty on that truck runs out in May. So we're going to have to do something, either trade it in or try to get our money back through the Lemon Law. We've had nothing but problems with that truck.
How old is that truck?
2012?
Is it 2012?
Yeah. And we bought the used truck, which is the 2004, and we've had absolutely no problem with the backup truck.
We still got that?
Yep. So far, except the other day, the alternator died on it right before Thanksgiving, so we had to do a little running up to Mr. Broder's, and he rebuilt the alternator for us, so it's nice to have him in town. So just to let you know, we're going to put our heads together and come up with the best plan, which will try to save us money in the long run, because that truck is not, and with all the outside mechanisms on that truck with the arms and everything, usually what goes are the sensors and the hydraulics and the arms, but this has all been engine problems. And
All the problems have been engine problems?
yeah. So
What kind of engine?
I wish I knew. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can find out. The last thing I put on here is just that March 31st is coming, so we're going to be working on the budget. Also, there's three union contracts that are up on March 31st, so we've got a lot on our plate the next 3.5, 4 months. Just wanted to pass that along.
Thanks.
Is that?
That's all.
All right, next up is city commission and committee reports, year-to-date financial reports. Vicki?
Final thing for the night. For Commissioner Mantala, usually the second meeting of the month is when we have our monthly financial reports. It's just for your information, for the commission's information only. Questions are asked, just that kind of thing.
This thing will make you scratch your head.
No, it's easy. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
This time.
Another thing to note is that on the utilities, just because I'm a utility guy, the utilities are, the income is for only a half a year, but the expenses for 7/12 of a year. Or the income is always a month behind, so if it looks like, hey, we're not going to meet our budget goals for the year, it's because of that.
You have to add another month.
Yeah. When we get to March, actually, the auditors throw 2 months in there. So.
Right now, we should be at about 58% of the budget. But for those items like Parks and Recreation, the
Seasonal items.
like the, I can't think of what it's called, the recreation services that we provide, they're probably pretty close to being 100%, and that's because they're finished for this fiscal year. So, you know, if it's higher than 58% on the expense side, it might just be that that service is completed for the fiscal year.
Where is there an equipment fund listed on here?
Mm-hmm.
What page is
It'd be
that?
one of the last ones, 661. It is the last page. 661 is the equipment fund.
Is that doing okay? I mean,
We're doing okay. Revenue is down a little bit because we didn't have a mechanic in there repairing things for other departments.
I thought
we're watching it
we
pretty
wanted
good.
to make sure that it wasn't going to get in a deficit again.
Yep. I did a little cash flow analysis for the October reports. We do have one of our retirees falling off in December, so we won't be having that expense for post-employment health insurance. So that'll help the fund a little, well, quite a bit, because he was pretty expensive for the retiree health insurance. So that'll help it a little bit. But yeah, we are.
Well, my main concern is not to let it
watching
get up
it.
to that close to
I don't think we ever.
$250,000.
I don't think we ever actually came up with a plan for it. We threw a bunch of money at it.
But we also asked to monitor it and make sure that we're charging the right amounts to make sure it doesn't get in that deficit again.
I don't think we really came up with a set plan for it. Something we want to look at.
We probably should.
All right, any more?
We could revisit that depending on how we're doing the budget workshops this year. I think there were some changes that the commission had wanted to do. We could revisit that again during the budget workshops.
Any more?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, moving on to RV Ordinance Subcommittee. Board and Commission reports. Anyone? Okay. Public comment.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Patrick Johnson. I just wanted to formally put a face with what everybody I talked to about buying the Rialto Center, and I apologize for not being on the agenda today. We'll be on next week, and I look forward to talking to you guys then. If you guys have any questions, feel free to talk to me after if you want, or if you guys want to do it now. I know you guys following Robert's Rules of Order, can't talk right now, but if you want to, you can. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, City Commissioner comments. Commissioner Phelan.
Well, I just hope everybody had a good holiday, Thanksgiving, and hopefully we have a wonderful December. The weather's been holding out nice.
Save on
All right, how about Commissioner Thompson?
Nothing.
Commissioner Mantala?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Veal?
Just want to thank all the citizens for their participation, no matter how many, and invite anyone that has any questions or that to contact the commissioners and be involved in your city. It does help us make decisions much easier for us because we are there representing you. That's it.
Right. I too want to thank Shelley Claycomb and the staff and all the volunteers for the old-fashioned Christmas, and for Elaine Demuse, who donated the tree out there. Eileen. And that's all. And with that, we just have city clerk comments.
We have the election from November 8th. The voter turnout with the city of Gladstone was at 58.59% for voter turnout, which is excellent for the city of Gladstone. We don't normally get that on our local city ones or not, but and it was very busy compared to 2012, which was 4 years ago with the presidential. We are down. It was 60.29% voter turnout 4 years ago. So that was kind of interesting. It seems steady all the way through, but when the numbers come down to it, voter registration changes constantly as people move in and out, and new voters come in, and so it was actually just a difference of 3 voters, but it's interesting how that swings. So election went well. We had some equipment, a laptop that we use for the electronic poll book crashed and failed. So we were able to, thankfully, it did happen prior to the actual election date. So we had a loaner from Big Smile Technology to do that. 33 minutes into the opening of polls, it decided to do update. So that was a bit of an issue. But I am happy and proud to say that we were able to keep the line moving and progress right along without the electronic poll book. And then catch it up once we got the new piece of another loaner in. So needless to say, I'm going to have to replace those laptops. We obtained those laptops through a grant that I wrote through the Help America Vote Act, so we didn't pay anything for them initially up front, and it's been about 7 years with them. They're not a real high-tech laptop. It was a basic model and things like that. So it was time. We had some of the scanner things going that I had to replace for this election as well. So the other one is probably shortly behind it to crash. So I do have to get those replaced. Thankfully, we won't have an election, relatively soon, but I am going to do that. If you recall, there's money budgeted in the elections right now for new equipment. The state is coming out. They said we were going to be purchasing in 2016, rolling it out in 2017. That was budgeted $3,000 per precinct. You remember we have precinct 1 and 2. Precinct 3 is the absent voter counting board. Operates just like another precinct without the public coming in, like the other one. So you have to outfit all 3 of those. There has been no word. I'm expecting now that the election is over, we'll be seeing the progress or when we can actually purchase that. The way our fiscal year falls within March, I'm not sure if we will be actually purchasing before March 31st. So I currently have, there is $9,000 budgeted for equipment. I'm going to have to replace those laptops. That's on us. That's not part of with the state. So I'm going to go ahead and get those, and then just wait to see. It might be something that we have to continue to budget in the 2017-18 fiscal year for that new equipment. Just depends on the state's timeline for that. So it was kind of interesting, but so there is money budgeted, but wanted to let you know that. And other than that, I thank my election workers. They worked really hard, really long day with that, and did well. There will be, I don't know if you've heard or not, but there will be a recount within Delta County that they were talking about. I believe it was the Bay Board of Trustees. It was within like 12 votes or something like that. So there will be the recount, according to Nancy, that'll be sometime in December. that happening for that. So the election is not quite done yet. So also besides the recount, yep, I'm still working on putting that to bed. There's some more reports that are coming down that have to do that. So for a one-day event, it is quite time consuming, you know, the months leading up to it, and then even after. So still working on putting that away. But it was good turnout for the city. Hopefully we have that. Next year is considered a kind of an off election year, depending on if there's any proposals or anything that can come on the election cycles. Right now, just have planned for November city commission election. So hopefully we'd have a lot of good time to work with my workers and get that new equipment, you know, trained on that. So I'm anxious for that. So I'll keep you posted.
Is there going to be a recount on the national election?
There is talk being that Michigan could be part of with the whole recount. I think it was Philadelphia and I'm forgetting the next one, whatever. Wisconsin. I was just in Wisconsin this weekend too, and people everywhere were buzzing and talking about it. So it was interesting to hear their perspective and things. So I haven't heard anything. I mean, it doesn't with us, you know, affect us so much with that. It would be county, state level. So I'm not sure that you can petition to have a recount if you're willing to pay.
How does that work? Would you have to do the physical recount here?
No, the Board of Canvassers, we work through the Delta County Board of Canvassers, so I would have to deliver all the voted ballots and our things over to the county, you know, and as long as it's a recountable precinct, meaning everything was sealed up, you know, correctly and stuff, they would then go ahead and recount. Like when we for sure have with the December one, they're just going to recount just that Bay Board of Trustees. And then, of course, if there is a recount for the presidential, it'll be just that. You know, they don't have to go through and look at every. You know, some of them are certified. So, and you see that that's why the state certifying the election and even Delta County certifying the election results happens, you know, days, you know, after the election. There's a whole process of canvassing that's still going on. So
Today's the day.
Today's the day. I knew it was close, so we'll be seeing. But yeah, with that, when a recount happens, I don't have to bring my people in. It's not an expense necessarily to us, other than just to get the voted ballots over there. So it would be an interesting. I've never been in on that, but it'd be an interesting to kind of serve on. So anybody, I don't know who the people are that serve on the Board of Canvass, but it'd be kind of an interesting one to recount the ballots, if you like that kind of thing. So. I'd like to see the process, but yeah, it's by hand. It is a recount by hand, so it might get a little boring, but yeah, or a lot boring. But anyway, so that's an update there, and then just took advantage of some time off for Thanksgiving, and I will be taking advantage of some more time off coming up with the other holidays. But I'll be at the commission meetings. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are adjourned.